What up guys, it's Dragos here again, and today I'm going to take you guys through some exercises to specifically strengthen up the shoulder joint. Now over the years that I've trained people, of the many people that I've seen, one of the main weaknesses in the body is the shoulder joint. It is probably, I'm going to say, the weakest link in your goal path. So to achieve ultimate goal or the ultimate strength or whatever you want to call it, you're gonna need a pair of good strong foundation in your shoulders. And yes, you're probably saying, well, I'm doing front raises, I'm doing shoulder presses, I'm doing lateral raises, I'm doing all that beautiful stuff, but really at the end of the day, sometimes the range of motion is just not there, or the right exercise really is not there to work that shoulder in the right way, so to really hit that deltoid muscle. If you're not getting that deltoid muscle worked fully from a full stretch position to a full contraction position, or you're compensating with different muscles in the body, then you are just kind of building your body on a weak foundation. So I'm gonna be sharing with you guys some specific exercises and specific range of motion, and it's not necessarily different exercises, but what I'm going to show you is to be exact, two specific exercises that are done different ways to really hit the deltoid muscle from all the points of view. So check out these exercises. I'm going to explain them one by one as well to you, but here's the first variation of the military press or the bar shoulder press, whatever you want to call it. Let's check it out. Okay, so that was the first one, the wide grip shoulder press or the wide grip military press. Now let me make something perfectly clear. If you do have a shoulder injury, or you've had your shoulder torn, or maybe your shoulder broken in the past, these exercises are not necessarily the ones that are going to help you. You may need to look more detail as to what was broken, what was damaged, what is damaged, and things like that to be able to strengthen the shoulder properly. But these exercises are specifically if your shoulders are healthy and just weak. So be very careful. If you do have a shoulder injury, these exercises may or may not make the injury or the problem worse. So as you can see from that video, the grip is fairly wide. So it's the widest grip possible that I can go on the shoulder press without making things way too awkward and way too painful for my shoulder. Now you also got to think of it this way: the more stretched out your arm is for an exercise, the more load you're gonna put on the deltoid. You come in a little bit more, it's easier for the muscle, and it gets a little bit more help and a little bit more compensation from other muscles that are working at the same time. So you go a little bit wider, there's more tension on the muscle, more load on the muscle, and you're already in a stretch position. So that means the fibers are going to full stretch already outside, and then you're going deep with the bar as well. So you're getting that full stretch of the fibers and you're making them go up. So now you're making them work from a full stretch position to a full contraction position. This is why going deep in a military press is very important. Now the one thing you got to be careful about, when you do go deep, don't go to the point where you necessarily need to touch your chest, but you got to go to about 2 to 3 fingers away from the chest. You're going all the way in, you might either get too much of a pull, and if your shoulders are weak, you may get stuck there. So do be careful how deep you go, and it's probably a good idea to have a spotter as well if you're going deep for the very first time. But you're trying to stretch out the muscle as much as you can. Get those fibers working from their full stretch position and then push up overhead. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, I always recommend against locking the elbow out. As you can see in that video, I'm not locking it out, but as I'm pushing overhead, I get that extra little bit of thug, if you want to call it that, where the actual scapula or the shoulder blade in my back is moving out a little bit more than just from the regular motion of pushing your hand overhead. So I try to essentially reach up for the ceiling as I'm doing the exercises. So I'm trying to flex that deltoid. Now there's no way around getting those triceps working as well. So if you do feel in your triceps when you're doing a shoulder press, that is a good thing. They're working. You're targeting those triceps as well. What you need to be careful is that you don't let the chest do the work. And when you're sitting on the bench, or you can even do them standing, it can be done standing as well, don't arch your back too much to the point where your chest is facing the ceiling, because at that point the pectoral muscles are going to take mainly the work, and you're going to turn that exercise into an incline chest press, or if you're flexible enough, you can even change it into a regular flat chest press, and you don't want that. You want to isolate the deltoids. So exercise number one, the wide grip of the shoulder presses. Get that deltoid stretched out into a maximum open position, so now the arm can be quote unquote on its weakest, and you're really targeting that deltoid muscle. The pectoral muscle is stretched out in this position, so it can do little work if you're nice and vertical and your back is not arched in. Number two, exercise number two. Now you notice that my arms are moved in a little bit more towards the center, so it's the middle grip. Now I am working the deltoid as well, but I'm getting a little bit more triceps involved. The triceps are gonna help me a little bit more on this one. So if you do this kind of a grip, don't be surprised if you feel a little bit more pain on the triceps, because they are going to help a little bit with the load. That's normal. They're the secondary muscle in a shoulder press exercise. But again, it's very key importance to not curve your back and get that pectoral muscle working. So you got to keep the shoulder engaged. You got to keep it flexed, because once the pectoral muscle is in it, you won't be able to get much benefit for the deltoid, and that's the main mistake. That's why the weakness of the deltoid is gonna come in, because the pectoral, it's a much bigger muscle, it's a much stronger muscle than the deltoid, and it will tend to take over whenever it gets the chance. Your body will compensate with the strongest muscle. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to strengthen the deltoid, not the chest. Do that on chest day. Now another thing you'll notice with this one, I'm going nice and slow. So if you're trying to strengthen it, keep that time under tension for the bar. Don't go up and down nice and quick, because you won't be getting anything out of it. If you're using momentum, you might as well not do it. So I'm going nice and slow, and the other thing that you're probably not able to see from the video, but I am trying to almost rotate my shoulders a little bit forward when I'm doing this. So instead of just holding it back in the widest position, now here I'm rolling them a little bit forward. So I'm really getting that the joint to close inwards a little bit, so that's going to add a little bit of more of a strain, or get a little bit more load bearing on the deltoid itself. So I'm not going back with the shoulder and trying to inch my way from hitting myself in the face with the bar, but I'm putting my shoulder forward. Now I got that room to bring that bar up, and I'm pushing it a little bit backwards so it's right over my head. That's when the full deltoid engagement and flexion is going to happen. You press overhead, you don't lock the elbow, but you extend all the ways like you're trying to hit the ceiling with the bar. So I'm going slow, and the slower you go, the harder it gets. Don't be fooled that there's little weight and I'm having a lot of trouble with it. I'm trying to go slow, I'm trying to focus on the muscle, and yes, it was burning, it was hurting, but that's when I know that I'm getting that deltoid from the full stretch position to the full contraction position. That's very important to all of the exercises. Number three, Number 3, as you can see, I'm going behind the head with this military press. Now, there's so many people out there that say this is a very dangerous exercise, and I always love to watch those YouTube videos that they say, just don't do it. But they don't explain to you what's happening, why is it so bad. It puts tension on the shoulder, yes it does. You're in a very strict position for that deltoid to work. One small mistake and you can damage your deltoid, and this is why I said in the beginning, if you do have an injury in the shoulder, if you had a past injury or it's a new injury, whatever the case may be very careful, and I really strongly recommend that you get somebody to check that deltoid who knows what they're doing and to really zero in on the problem, because behind the neck shoulder presses or behind the neck military presses can cause more damage to your deltoid. But if you are with healthy deltoids, they haven't suffered any injuries, no trauma or anything like that, they're just weak, there's absolutely no problem in doing this behind the neck shoulder presses. What you may feel is a little bit of tightness, and you might find at certain points you're actually bumping your head with the bar. Well, that is the glenohumeral joint saying to you, I am very tight. So again, that's something you also want to be careful at. If your tendons, your ligaments, and your shoulder joint are tight, you're asking for trouble again. Make sure you stretch in your free time. It is very important. It's not just a waste of time. So when you're doing it, let's assume that you're like me and you don't have shoulder issues. You don't have injuries, don't have problems, and you have very good flexibility in the sense that you are able to go behind the head. I'm going back to that wide grip. So I'm opening up the arms as much as I can. This means that I'm not getting as much help from my tricep muscles as I would be if my arms were in. Of course, behind the head is a little bit more difficult because you know what I said about that stretch on a deltoid. You're stretching those fibers and you're making them work from a very uncomfortable position, and what you can call it is a very weak position for the deltoid muscle itself. So again, keep that head down. Make sure your back is straight as you're doing it and you don't bump your head with it, and you're not trying to arch at the same time, and also don't let your back curve while doing this one. Very bad idea to let your back curve. It is, in any exercise, the worst thing you can do to get your back to curve, and especially this one, you're going to lose balance, you're going to injure your back, and you're going to have that bar end up on your head, and it's not going to be pleasant at all. Now, the other thing is, notice, go as deep as you can on this exercise. As you can tell, I'm not going all the way to my upper back, and that is also a sign that my shoulder joints are very tight as well. So even me, I need to work on stretching out those shoulders better, getting that flexibility a little bit more. I was going as far down as I could. When I felt that deltoid muscle that was really stretching, I was done. I was pushing back up. I did not want to risk going any lower and getting stuck in any awkward position that can cause any more injuries for my shoulders. Exercise number 4. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a pattern here. On exercise number 4, I did it again behind the head, but I did it with narrow grips. Same idea applies just like with the front. I've got a little bit more triceps working into it as I was pushing up, but as you can see at this point, I am tired. You can also tell that my right shoulder was having a little bit of an issue there. The tightness that was really surfacing, especially at the end of the exercise or the set, because I was starting to get unbalanced there. The imbalance, I was feeling very much so that I was pushing hard with my right, and actually my right felt stronger than my left. But as you can see from the video, I was having a little bit of a slope in the bar. So my left was pushing way higher than what my right was actually pushing. But the signals that I was getting, I literally thought through that my right was pushing way higher than what my my left shoulder was working. So it was really weird over there. When I actually looked at the video afterwards, I was like, oh my God, like I'm on a slope on that exercise. I was tired. I mean, I felt I was tired. I felt my shoulders burning, but I didn't really feel that I am such on a huge slope, because that was a big imbalance. But that is what I'll be trying to be working on more, and this is where dumbbells come into play as well. So you can also do these exercises with the dumbbells, but do make sure you have a spotter or somebody looking at your form, your range of motion, making sure that both arms go all the way to the top and trying to even them out as much as possible. Because when you're doing with dumbbells, there's that one arm working with the dumbbell doing all the work possible. You're not having the other arm on the other side giving you help lifting it. So I'm not sure if I really explained that right, but dumbbells, you're pretty much, each arm is on its own. If the arm can do it, then there's no helping it whatsoever, and it's way easier for anybody to spot an imbalance if they're looking obviously from the back or from the front, whatever the case may be. For you, doing the exercise is going to be just the same. You won't be able to tell which one is going higher than the other, but it's going to be easier to tell when somebody's looking at you, if they know what they're doing, spotting that your left arm, for example, is not going as high than your right, or vice versa. So strengthening is also a good idea to throw dumbbells and do the shoulder presses with the dumbbells as well. It's going to strengthen you up in the long run. But behind the back shoulder press with the narrow grip, this is what I was talking about. It really challenged the deltoid. It really challenged the tricep. So those were the 4 exercises that I wanted to share with you guys from the point of view of a military press. Now, of course, when you're coming from the front point of view, bring the bar to the front, you can always bring the arms so close inside for the narrowest grip possible, but you've got to be very careful on that one. I didn't show you that because if you're at a point where you're a beginner or you're trying to strengthen up the shoulders because you have very weak shoulders, it is a bad idea to come very close to it as of yet, because at that point the triceps will take very much of the work. You're better off doing the narrow or the hammer grip shoulder press with dumbbells. But again, you really have to know what you're doing on those ones, because your elbow, sometimes I've seen cases where the elbow flares out as you're pushing up because you're trying to compensate in every way, shape, or form. When you're going for the narrowest grip of the shoulder press with dumbbells or with a bar, your triceps will do a lot of the work. The deltoids are almost becoming your secondary muscle. So if you have weak triceps, you're going to really suffer on that exercise, and it can get to a point where it's dangerous. So I've shown you these ones because I believe, and from a mechanical point of view, you're really getting your deltoid hit from this point of view. Now, one thing that I really want to clear up before I go any further at this point: when you're doing shoulder presses, yes, you're putting an emphasis, a higher emphasis on the anterior deltoid or the front deltoid, but that doesn't mean that the middle and the posterior or the back deltoid is not working. Lifting your arm up, all the 3 heads of the deltoid work together. Whether there's more emphasis on the front, the back, or the middle, that's a whole different story, but you are working the entire deltoid muscle. Doesn't matter which exercise you're doing. Even when you're doing lateral raises, your full deltoid is working, you're just putting more emphasis on the mid deltoid. So doing this kind of a shoulder press exercise, you are working the entire muscle all around. So you strengthen it at the level of ligaments, the tendons, and the muscle in itself. And there's one more exercise that I want to share with you guys that I really think that could be beneficial. It's the reverse flies, but on a bench. So let's check it out first. So as you saw on that one is the reverse dumbbell flies on a bench. Now obviously you can do this one without the bench, and sometimes it's actually a better idea to just bend over at the midsection and do the reverse flies, because that really hits your lower back. So if you're trying to develop your lower back as well, make it stronger, sometimes it's better to do it without the aid. But right now we're not trying to target the lower back. We're trying to really isolate and get as much work going out of your rear or your posterior deltoid as we can. So that's when you use the bench. Now we can see I've done 2 variations there, and I have not kept my arm straight out. First of all, the two variations are lifting up with the palms facing the ground and then lifting up or sideways with the arms twisting right at the top and then twisting right back. So when you go up straight with the arms facing to the floor, you're putting just the, if you want to call it, the basic load on the deltoid. So you're lifting that dumbbell up, everything is fine and dandy, great. But you really want to hit all the muscle fibers that the deltoid has to contain. So when you're doing that extra little bit of a twist, you're putting that even little bit more of isolation in that posterior deltoid. So you're really going for those last few fibers to get them working. Now, that doesn't mean that when you go in there, you want to twist your arm to yank it out of your joint. You're not trying to go for more than a 90-degree twist on your rotator cuff. So when you're doing that one, also make sure you're not just twisting your hand like this, because you're doing nothing out of that. You're actually weakening out because you're going into a position that is going to be a surprise for your body. So it's like, whoa, 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 what's happening? And you're going to drop it. When you lift it up, twist right from the shoulder joint. That's when you're going to hit those last few fibers a little bit more. Now, of course, if you don't want to, you don't have to go with one and then of the other back and forth between the two. You can do 10 or 12 or 15 repetitions with one type, with the palm facing the ground, for example, and then you do your 10, 12, or 15 with the twist. You can mix them, you can do them individual. That's not going to make a difference. The whole point is you're trying to support your back. My chin was over the bench, so I don't have to twist my neck back and forth, because when you're doing this one, the trapezius is also going to play a little bit of a role into it. So when you're pulling up, you're going to feel your upper back squeezing. So that means that the trapezius is going to get activated one way or another, right? So the more twist of the neck you put into it, the more you're going to compromise the movement of the fibers in the trapezius muscle. So you want to have your head straight down, nice and neutral, so that when you lift it up, you don't compromise any of the movement of the trapezius as is. So yes, you're trying to isolate the deltoid, but the trapezius, just like the tricep did in the shoulder presses, is going to help the movement. So there's no real way around it. So there you go, guys. Those are the exercises that I wanted to share with you that would really help strengthen your deltoid muscle as much as we can. They're simple exercises, but like I said, if you do them nice and slow, if you don't try to use momentum, if you use the correct weight, you're going to get quite a lot of benefit out of your deltoids. So be very mindful of what you use, and if you're not sure how much weight to use, really get somebody who knows what they're doing to assess you, to see what weight you're doing, to kind of ask you the correct question to detect what kind of a muscle fiber you are or the muscle twitch you are, and you're ready to go for the right exercises. So I really hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments below. Hit like on that button, subscribe to my videos. I post workouts. I'm going to post more informational videos to explain how to do certain exercises to strengthen certain joints in the body. And if you have any questions, like I said, post them in. If you have better exercise, I really want to hear from you guys as well. So let me know if you think some exercise will be better. Hit me up again. I really want to hear your input on it as well. Let me know also if these exercises worked for you, and like I said, give me a like, give me a follow, give me a subscribe, because I will be posting more and more, and I do want to hear what you guys think about them. If you like it, if they're helping, or if you want to see any specific exercise, I'd be more than happy to take requests and do some of the exercises that you're questioning about, you're not sure about, and you really want to see them done, if you're doing them correctly or any of the sorts. So I'll see you guys on my next video. Stay fit, stay healthy, and have an amazing time. Push hard in that gym.